Before we begin, thank you very much to Collector K9 for joining the Patreon campaign over at patreon.com/TJOmega. I am now in the midst of my Beast Wars episode reviews, thanks to you guys. I've already hit the goal for Beast Machines. Now I'm wondering how long it's going to be before we hit the one for G1. At this rate, I have no idea how it's going to go, but it's an exciting time on the channel, and that is thanks to you guys. Thank you so much. You keep supporting. I will keep outputting. And that leads us to today's video. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I hope it is a pleasant day for everybody. I decided that since I normally don't pander to the holidays, but you know what? I've also never had a daily video schedule during the holidays before, so let's actually do something for it. I thought, yeah, it's the day of romance and coupling and overpriced chocolate. So let's go back and look at Transformer couplings and the romances that we have seen throughout the years in the fiction. So that is the list. Here are 10 Transformer romances, starting at number 10, and we're going to start with an honorable mention, which is RC, and Hot Rod, and Springer, and Chrome Dome, and Bumblebee, and Aileron, and Greenlight, and... Okay. So, I think I had to throw RC in this because she is the de facto female of Transformers, so of course... Whether it's, the cartoons or the comic books, every writer's going to have some different idea for romancing her. And at this point, it's basically pick whoever you want. It's all over the map, no holds barred. It's unfortunate. Every single one of these ended up, Aileron ended up fine, and looks like Greenlight's going to end up fine, but Hot Rod got dumped when he got a promotion. That never happens. Springer, she kind of just forgot about Springer after a while, and then I think Chrome Dome did the best. And then I think things ended badly in that G.I. Joe comic where she was with Bumblebee. If I remember right, Bumblebee didn't make it. Spoiler alert. Yeah, so RC easily the most troubled in Transformer romances. Enough drama to create a reality show around her problems. But, you know what? It earns her a number 10 slot here at least. Number 9 is a different form of romance, one that wasn't fully completed, but it adds an interesting dynamic to the show. Optimus Prime and Black Arachnia from Animated. They were attracted to each other when Black Arachnia was Elita 1. That did not last. After her mutation and subsequent defection to the Decepticons, of course, things became strained. But it does create an interesting element in the series between the two, an emotional tie that was never quite connected and completed. She's another case of, there's way too many characters crushing on her, which I think is a trait shared by the original Black Arachnia as well. But it's the dynamic with Prime that makes this interesting. She can use it to her advantage, and it's she used it to her advantage her want, but also you can tell there is something there that she wishes had actually come to fruition. It's a fun dynamic to watch when they share time on screen together. And yeah, another reason why Season 4 should have happened, because I would have loved to have seen that develop further. Next up, I'm going to give a rare compliment to IDW 2.0. Their Valentine's Day issue I thought was genuinely enjoyable and actually kind of sweet. Glyph and Tap Out, apologies. Glyph and Tap Out, a pair of BotCon repaint exclusives once upon a time, now making their return to comic book pages as a very opposites attract kind of couple. I do kind of like that, given their shared history and their original storylines, that they got to see it, that we got to see it continue into its own little story, like a self-contained comic book. It's not something you normally see, and it's an interesting choice going back to Glyph and Tap Out. I have issues with IDW 2.0 pulling too many obscure characters and basically starting characterizations over from the beginning with a lot of brand new characters and a lot of random characters. But in this case, I do like centering on them, and the story itself is genuinely fun and enjoyable to read. It does make a nice geeky Valentine's read for anyone out there who needs a little bit of a cheesy romance to read. Now we're bopping over to Beast Machines, and no, this does not have to do with Silverbolt and Black Arachnia's whole mess in that series. No, we're going to be talking about Rat Trap and Botanica, another opposites attract couple, a love-hate relationship, which, hey, that seems to be a motif in Rat Trap's life. But it is an interesting dynamic again. The two who on the outside appear to absolutely hate each other, but both are mutually compensating for their attraction for each other. Something that they refuse to admit or realize themselves until the heat of the moment got the best of them. It's not something you get to see in Transformers often. Well, to be fair, emotional attraction is not something you get to see in Transformers very often. Here, it's an interesting dynamic because the two bicker back and forth so much, and they can actually keep up with each other. This is like a Dinobot situation for where one is going to start throwing tables around. No, they're just going to use words, and it's it's fascinating to watch the two develop, and then Rat Trap doing what, the things he's willing to do to protect Botanica's life. Again, fun couple. I wish this one got more time. Botanica didn't enter the series until pretty late in, and we didn't get time to see them as a couple outside of the ending, so that knocks it a few points. But still, happy for Rat Trap. Rat Trap deserved to be happy at the end of that series. Let's not forget, it's not just robots in these cartoons. Let's talk a little bit about Spike and Carly from G1. This one pretty much flows the way you would expect it for a teenage romance in season 2, primarily. It's Spike trying desperately to get her attention, trying to get a date out of her. She's more interested in Bumblebee at first than she is Spike. Takes him a while. Takes him a few attempts to actually get her attention, but she does become a recurring character in the series, and stepping in for Chip Chase once in a while when they needed some other human brain operating. And then, of course, this was actually a fully completed couple, because when we get to 2005, they are married, and we have Daniel. So, might be higher if they hadn't had Daniel. I'm not knocking it because Daniel's an annoying character. I actually don't think he's as bad as people remember. But these two, I liked that they gave Spike a recurring girlfriend in G1. Not something you normally see in a boys' cartoon, but they got away with it. And hey, we get to basically see their lives together, which I think is something that's actually kind of cool in this franchise. Sticking to Generation 1, there is one couple that does stand out: Optimus Prime and Elita 1. This, admittedly, only one real episode to actually show this relationship, but seeing what Prime is willing to do for her, and seeing what she is willing to do for him, and realizing that this is a romance that survived 4 million years. I think there's something to be said for that. That's an accomplishment that deserves to have your tip of the hat. So it makes it to this list, and makes it pretty high on this list, considering it's only a one-episode thing. We do get to revisit it in a few comic book stories got to revisit it, but primarily the Netflix series, which kind of delved back into this. And that one, I think, I don't like how it went there. But I do think the two in that series were very genuine, very much knowing their attraction to each other, but Prime being very much so focused on the war and the defense against the Decepticons that he did not want. He felt it wasn't right, and that's an old story. That's a trope at this point, but in this case, okay, I can understand it. And at the very least, it is nice to have gotten a chance to see them have more screen time together and actually hash out a few things, and actually, address their relationship. A little bit better than just hey, I've been waiting for you for 4 million years. Where were you? Hey, it's something anyway. And now welcome to the IDW 1.0 portion of the list. We are starting with Anode and Lug, one of my favorite pairs of characters in Lost Light. I love it because they are Autobots with a gray moral compass. They are not above lying and stealing just because they can, which is fun for Autobots to be willing to do. But the relationship they have is interesting to me. So, Anode spent a good portion of the comic book imagining Lug was still alive and interacting with her, even though no one else could ever talk to her or brought it up, until the issue was forced, and now all of a sudden we had to tap her shoulder and hey, Lug died a long time ago. You've been alone this whole time. And to see what Anode's willing to do to bring Lug back, and just how desperate she is to get her back. And then just seeing the two together, because they are a very genuine couple who are obviously just very much all about each other. It is, aside from the stealing, it's a rather wholesome couple to watch. Again, they're just fun, and that's one thing I liked in the Lost Light series. Characters were just fun. Maybe not the most serious stories being told, but entertaining, which is the whole point. And Anode and Lug certainly were that. And, they are characters defined by how strong of a relationship they have with each other. That, I think, makes them an enjoyable couple to watch. So talking IDW couples, we cannot forget Chrome Dome and Rewind, one of the longest running couples that we got to see throughout the entire series, and one of the ones that went through the most trauma. Chrome Dome has his own issues, where every time he goes through a bad breakup or loses someone, he wipes his own memory. He deletes his own memory so he doesn't have to go through that pain. Rewind himself also has a former love that was lost, and when they discovered where he was again is kind of horrific, and it tore both sides. Both of them started pushing away from each other, and they had a lot of strife just going through these individual issues. And then Rewind dying and then subsequently returning throws even more into that. They go through a lot over the course of IDW. Now, they spend most of it as a couple, but the reluctance to stay close, the issues that they had when past loves came back or their issues had to be addressed, adds tension, adds drama. And they still come through it because ultimately they are more important to each other than any of that. So it's a very strong pairing and very enjoyable to watch the two. I loved Chrome Dome and Rewind. They told a great story together, and nothing more to say. They were great. Last one for IDW, and this one is pretty huge because this one is a complete opposite of Chrome Dome and Rewind. We do have polar opposite characters. Once again, we have a dark, brooding Cyclonus and this upbeat but very insecure Tailgate. And their story is a will they, won't they? Because it is obvious they mean everything to each other. And Tailgate, we got to see Tailgate was obviously in love with Cyclonus. But the old Cyclonus being, that old warrior himself, he's not really good at expressing emotions or, being honest to himself. So this one took a while, but the payoff was so good. You pulled for them. You pulled for them the whole time. Between Tailgate being manipulated, with his his feelings for Cyclonus, Cyclonus coming to terms with how much Tailgate meant to him. It is a fantastic story between those two, and such a good payoff. And and another element to their relationship that just makes this so much better. Whirl, IDW Whirl, who went from promising to kill Cyclonus to being the biggest shipper of these two, and legitimately being super happy for them. To the point where he World genuinely starts caring about those two. And for World to care about anyone but himself is a huge deal. So the fact that Cyclonus and Tailgate ended up meaning so much to them will tell you just how good of a couple they made. And probably one of my favorite parts of IDW, especially the Lost Light side of things. And finally, at the top of the list, we couldn't have any other couple here, really. This is Silverbolt and Black Arachnia from Beast Wars. Now, we keep in mind, the comic books didn't really have romances between Transformers. In fact, the UK comic books specifically said they take no mates, because they had no male or female concepts. Okay, fine. In the cartoon, we had one episode showing that some of the Autobots had girlfriends on Cybertron, and then a couple episodes where Transformers fell in love with flesh beings. So we had some weird romance stories in G1, but, no falling in love stories, and no, actual couple that maintained. For all intents and purposes, Silverbolt and Black Arachnia was the very first time we got to see that. More to the point, it's a Romeo and Juliet story where it is love between two from opposing sides. And a very dynamic one as well. Silverbolt being so adamant to be the one who, saved Black Arachnia from what the Predacons did to her. Coming to accept her for who she is. And Black Arachnia, being in love with Silverbolt, but also being very, very unsure of it. She almost tries to convince herself that she doesn't actually care about him. She tries very hard to hold on to her bad girl in it for herself approach to life, but there's just too much. It's just too obvious that this bird dog means the world to her. Watching her develop and evolve as a character, with Silverbolt being that anchor point for her character to revolve around, it's such a massive change, and it tells such a great story. Now, this is a romance that goes into Beast Machines, where they tried to add something to it. I felt it took things away. Again, I am a fan of getting to see a couple together. I hate stories where, I hate stories where you spend, an entire series waiting for these two to get together, and then it's we get together at the 19-minute mark of the 22-minute finale. And that sucks. We got to see Silverbolt and Black Arachnia together for a good chunk of Season 3, for actually all of Season 3. They are just an open couple, and it makes for a fun dynamic, and it makes the two characters more interesting. It adds depth to them. So, a fantastic thing to be able to watch. Absolutely my favorite couple in Transformers, and I genuinely think the best one that there has been. So, obviously, there's a lot of little couples and pairings that I have left off of this list. And even things like Kobe and Lori from Cybertron crossed my mind. But let me know in the comments if there's any significant ones I missed here, because as we know, in Here's 10 is just a list of 10 things, not a definitive top 10. And this one is certainly up for debate. So let me know in the comments what you think, and hopefully I will see you for the next video. Until then, once again, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.